Hi everybody and welcome back. Dave Blinder from eXp Realty. Today's video is for realtors. For those of you new to completing your listing agreements electronically, getting those forms digitally signed as well, we're going to look at a primer at how to find those forms and begin the process of getting them electronically signed by your clients. With your regular paid memberships to your New Jersey Realtor Board, as well as your MLS, you have access to some great systems. So we're taking a look at that. I'm going to flip over to my desktop view, and I'm using the Chrome browser on my iMac. You can definitely complete this on Windows as well. Would not recommend trying to do these forms on your cell phone. It's going to be very, very difficult and probably frustrating for you. So some of these forms are specific to your MLS, such as the listing input form and the commission agreement form. Today we're looking at Garden State MLS. If you happen to be taking on a listing that's located within Middlesex County, Ocean County, Somerset County, Cape May County, you're going to have different forms. If you're not sure which forms to use, you could definitely call the local MLS office just to check. And if you can't find them when you're logged in, they'll lead you to what you need to complete for these listings. You can also obviously ask your broker or your mentor or your sponsor as well. My primary MLS in my area is generally going to be Garden State MLS. I'm already logged in as a realtor and member of Garden State MLS. So I'm going to scroll down to the bottom left-hand side under Forms. We can see there's a section for MLS forms and listing input sheets. Again, these are mandatory forms that must be completed. Today we're going to be doing a mock-up of a single-family home listing. So there are two essential forms here you're going to pull from the MLS, and other forms that are also sourced from your realtor board. We'll be looking at those in a few moments. So we will need to complete the single-family listing input sheet. We also must complete the listing commission agreement form because you definitely want to be paid for your work, right? There is also a coming soon form. This is formerly known as a delayed showing form. And if you wanted to do a coming soon promotion, say start marketing the home on a Monday but not allow access till the open house, you must complete the coming soon form as well. So that's optional if that pertains to your marketing plan, but it's usually not a bad idea to do a coming soon promotion. Anyways, let's take a look at the single family listing input form. We've got a PDF document that will open up here. Any items in red on the Garden State MLS input sheet must be completed. You can't leave these blank. The system is not going to allow you to. So there's a whole lot of information that goes into the listing input form. This is going to take some time, so it's important not to rush this. And even if you don't have a listing coming up, but you're new to these systems, it's a good idea to familiarize yourself with these forms. Maybe you want to input a mock-up listing in advance as well. Just so you're ready to go, and it'll really expedite your process when the time comes to do your listing, because the next listing is always right around the corner. So again, anything in red must be completed here. There's a lot of information. You're going to work with the sellers to get this mandatory form. There are also optional boxes in black, and if you have extra information on the home, you very well may want to add that information in as well. So again, it's a PDF. You could download that to your computer here. You could print it out and complete it in pen and ink with your clients, collaborate with them. You could try to complete this form fully on electronically as well. In my other tab here, I do have open a currently free online website called PDF Escape. I have no affiliation with it. I don't know a whole lot about the people who made it. I just know this system has worked out well for me, as I can just drag and drop a PDF I have with certain limitations over here and begin to enter information and download it as a completed PDF. You may also be able to complete these forms in Adobe Acrobat or other PDF editing forms as well. So there are different options as how you originally populate the form. That's going to be up to you. We can talk more about that at a different time. So again, you must also always complete the listing commission agreement form, and it's a form you want to familiarize yourself with in advance, just to know what it looks like. As the realtor, you will have to be expected to explain this document to your clients. And if you're not sure what it means, you could ask someone like me, or a sponsor or a coach. You could ask your mentor, or you could definitely ask your broker or see if they have a training on this already as well. And these forms are going to have to be signed. You see the signatures here, what's going to be required. In this case, the listing agent as well as the listing broker have to sign it, and any owners on the deed as well should be signing these documents. A lot of information here. Very important. You don't want to rush these. You don't want to get something wrong, and you want to think about these in advance of your listing. So these are the mandatory input sheets you're going to pull from Garden State MLS. We can look at that coming soon form, but again, this is optional if you choose to not show the home right away when it's listed. This must be completed and returned to the MLS. So those are some mandatory listing forms from Garden State MLS, but there are other forms that need to be completed as well. So we're going to go to another tab of njrealtor.com. If you haven't accessed this before and you're a member of the New Jersey Realtor Boards, you already have access to a lot of systems in njrealtor.com. I'm logged in already. If this is your first time logging in, you're going to need to probably input your NRDS number. That's a number issued to you when you first onboarded with your Realtor board. You can find that number on the cover of your Realtor magazine. If you can't find that, you can also try putting a call into your local Realtor association to see if they can provide your credentials for you. I'm logged in already. And I'm going to click on Online Forms, the blue button here towards the lower portion of the screen. This is going to begin loading up ZipForms Plus. There are some realtors out there who prefer LoopNet for digital signature in documents. That's a really nice system, but that is an add-on. That's not provided to me for free, but ZipForms Plus is no additional fee for me as a member of the North Jersey Realtor Boards. A lot of important and valuable documents contained in ZipForms Plus, and this is a way to have all of your documents digitally signed by your clients. You can retain them in here as well. Though at eXp Realty, we use the SkySlope system for organizing and retaining our documents for our brokerage. I'm not quite sure what this renewal form is all about. There are some add-on pop-ups that may nag you on ZipForms Plus. This one I just hit skip, and the system still works fine for me. If you don't know what something is, don't click on it and don't pay for it. Our main screen here is our transactional view, which are kind of folders or wrappers for our paperwork here in ZipForms Plus that we're going to have digitally signed. Again, we're doing a mock-up of a single family home listing in North Jersey. So we can click on New Listing. If you are submitting an offer or contract, you can click on the $sign. And you can begin inputting your listing address here. So let's do 12345 Main Street in Denville, New Jersey. You do have to select the type of listing. We're primarily doing residential work here, so I'll click on that. I don't have to enter anything else. I'll hit save. So our transaction begins loading up to a summary view. Personally, I haven't entered any information here myself in the summary view. I'm not sure that you have to. I instead navigate over to the Documents tab to begin. And like I said, so we know that there's a few mandatory documents for listings we pull from the MLS that are specific to the MLS. There are also mandatory documents which you've learned about through your licensing, and we can access those through ZipForms. So we've got an empty folder right now for our transaction. We can begin by hitting Add Document. Now, if let's say that your commission agreement form was you penciled all the information, you still needed it signed, you could import the document this way for signature, and you can browse for the document and bring in that form. But there are additional forms you're still going to need for compliance purposes in New Jersey. So I'm going to click on Add Document here. And now I'm going to click on Add Form. We have a form library of a lot of valuable information. And we've got a drop-down area here. So you need to be completing the forms that are pertinent to your local realtor board. In my case, that's New Jersey Association of Realtors. So it's going to provide the most recent and local forms for me. So there's many documents here. They're in alphabetical order. In my situation, we're mocking up a single family home listing. And let's imagine that home happens to be in a rural area, so they could have private septic and private well as well, private well water. So we're just going to start scrolling down here. The condo addenda is only if you have an HOA. But private sewage disposal is if you have a private septic tank, you must complete this form. Private well testing is if you have private well water, you do need to complete this form. And if you're a new agent, there's no reason not to familiarize yourself with all these forms when you have time. We always must complete the consumer information statement in real estate. I use Form A. That works out well for me so far. So I'm going to bring that into my transactional folder. The contract of sale, you're going to be completing mostly when you're submitting an offer. On offers, when we're representing the buyers, we do complete that New Jersey contract of sale. So today we're mocking up a listing. We don't need to look at that contract of sale just yet. There is a hold harmless form for COVID-19. If you're not sure what those terms mean, you can review it with your broker, but these are not mandatory, these are optional. So that's going to be up to you and up to the seller is if you want to complete that COVID-19 hold harmless form. We're not going to look at that today. However, in New Jersey, you must always complete the informed consent to dual agency. That form is letting your client know you could potentially represent both parties in the transaction, both the buyer and the seller. They need to know that in advance, not when it happens or after it happens. So again, this is a required form for your listing. So in this case, we're going to be pulling in the seller form for informed consent to dual agency, absolutely mandatory. We have a lead paint disclosure form as well. Any homes constructed in New Jersey prior to 1978 could have some degree of lead paint within them, and that could be a health hazard. There's a great government EPA website with more information on the potential hazards of lead paint that you should read and you should send to the seller. This is just a disclosure stating that the home could potentially have lead paint, and if they have knowledge of it, they'd be completing that as well. So you must complete the lead paint disclosure form for your listings as well. We do inform the seller that they should be completing a seller's disclosure document about the condition of the home. This is another one of those big forms. It's going to take you a while to complete and a while to get comfortable with it as well. You may, if you're new to seller's disclosure, you may want to look at other listings too and read about the flow of them. Ask your coach, your sponsor, your mentor, or your broker about what do all those fields mean if you're not sure about them. And seller's disclosure form is a form the listing agent is going to be completing with the sellers, with the clients. So this is a mandatory form we're going to be completing. So let's pull that in to ZipForms Plus. It's never a bad idea to bring in that wire fraud notice as well, and just to let those clients know that they should not be initiating any money wires without the prior direct consent of their attorney. There is always an opportunity for fraud. I believe that this form is also bundled in with the New Jersey contract of sale, but you could complete that now if you choose to. So let's bring that in. I'm just going to click out of that. And now we just get a broader view of all the forms we looked at. These have not really been populated, but we know we're going to need to complete these forms. The next step I like to do is I click on the parties while we're in the transaction view. We can see I've been pulled in as the listing agent. I'm not a broker, but sometimes people use that term interchangeably, unknowingly. And what I'd like to do now is let's imagine that there are two sellers in the deed. They're the ones who are signing this document. So let's mock that up. It's a good idea to begin adding them now. say seller one's name happens to be Jane Smith. Let's pull in her name and an email address for Jane. There's a lot of optional information here. I don't usually fill anything else out here myself except for the name and email address. This could be a power of attorney type situation. I'm not too sure, but I haven't used that before. I'm just going to hit save. And we're going to imagine there's also a seller too, that there's two folks responsible for the deed on this property. So we're going to bring them in as well. Let's imagine that person is Jack Smith. Jack@gmail.com. And we'll hit save. And we're going to add Jack to the transaction as well as a party who's going to be signing the document. So now what I like to do is I return back to the documents field. And we're not going to, in today's video, have a chance to go through all the documents. I wanted to show you how to find them. And again, you should really familiarize yourselves with them. Let's go through one of the shorter documents. Just take a look at how this works in ZipForms Plus. So we've got a nice clean digital copy of this important form that must be completed. As the agent, it's your duty to understand and explain these forms to the client. And if you don't understand them, that's fine. That's a great time for you to ask both your broker and your mentor to help you to better learn these documents. It's a great opportunity for learning. So we can see that some of this form has been pre-populated by what has been entered in the party section of ZipForms. It's already brought in fields for both of the sellers to form it, which is great. This saves us a lot of time. It's automating the signatures will be done later. Excuse me. So they're both going to sign, both parties independently there. It didn't pull in my name, though, as the listing agent, which is fine. So what I can do now is I can just start typing in the orange fields here in ZipForms Plus. I do recommend, if you're going through any of the long forms, to frequently hit the save button. Say you have a power outage or the computer crashes or something like that. These forms can take a lot of time. If you hit save, it's generally a safe backup on the cloud that you can come back to. If you don't hit save, you have the chance of losing a lot of information you've spent time on filling these forms out. So again, use that save button frequently, every few minutes, because I've made the mistake of not doing that in the past. So the licensee's legal name, as it shows in your real estate license, and the name of your brokerage form. So mine would be eXp Realty. So I'll type that in. Great brokerage to work for. And again, we have the opportunity to be disclosed dual agents. There's no reason we wouldn't want the seller to know that in advance here as well. So we're operating as the seller's agent, and let's let them know, disclose dual agent if the opportunity arises as well. And let's assume that we're going to be signing these forms today, so it should be dated as well today. So we're just going to click into that orange area. A calendar comes up. We click on today's date. And again, we're not going to be looking at all these forms in depth today. This is just an introduction to get you involved in the forms. So you can hit save here. And you can hit back now it's been saved to go back to your transaction view here. There's a lot of different editing you could do in that document view. But let's just say, for example, now that we had completed all of these mandatory forms, now it's time for the signature. At this point, you hit the e-sign button in ZipForms Plus. This is one of my favorite parts of doing this. This is very, very fast to get your document signed. You're going to create a new bundle of documents to be signed by the seller. So I believe these are populated in the order you click them. So, the most essential documents you may want to click first. So that actually selects all of them by hitting that little document button. You could add external documents here, but I'm just going to hit close. The packet name may impact the email they receive. They're going to receive an email notification that they have documents to sign. Again, you should have explained these in advance, and you should ask them if they have the clients have any questions afterwards as well. I do email myself the documents to sign as well too, because I always prefer a clean digital signature as long as I'm able to. For most transactions, you can just digitally sign documents. For any bank-owned properties, though, they're going to want what they call a wet signature and may not accept these digital signatures. So that's a little bit different. I'm not sure if I hit on it before, though, but each party must have their own unique email address. You can't send, if it's a married couple, they can't just share one email address. They must have two. There's no way to do that in the system if they only have one email address. So also, when these emails go out, it's going to go out one at a time to all the parties involved. We'll look at that in a moment. So first, I don't even remember what the address was called, but we'll call it Denville Listing Agreement, something like that. And that will show in the subject of the email from the parties to sign from ZipLogic. We'll hit next. You want to let these parties know that they're not going to necessarily receive the email for signature and review until the party above them has signed, and that's important. It could create confusion if you don't let them know. It's dependent on the person before them completing the form. In other systems, they may get all emailed these documents concurrently at the exact same time. That could be a better way of doing it, but ZipForms right now, as of filming this, does it one at a time. You can let the parties know that. And when you hit the next button, it sends an email out to your full list of signers in the order you've chosen. Again, the people below them are not going to be notified that it's their time to sign until the person before them has reviewed and completed the document, because you don't want to be held up waiting for someone's signature when they have not gone through all the channels to complete these. So that was a lot of information, and you may have a lot of questions on this stuff too, but I just wanted to get you into these systems to take a look at how do you find the documents, so you can do some studies on your own of where do you find these vital input forms for the MLS. I do complete some of my forms online on this PDF escape interface. It's free. I don't have an affiliation with it, but it's a way of completing entries on long documents and adding in text boxes and then exporting it back to your computer for electronic signature. So it's just something that has worked out well enough for me in the past. So hopefully that gets you started on completing your Garden State MLS listing agreement forms and finding your other required disclosure documents. Let me know if you have any more questions on this. I'm happy to help, and we'll do some more videos on this topic in the future. Thanks so much, and I'll talk to you soon.